And we're going to go ahead and begin. So we're going to go ahead and begin in center. Let's go ahead and grab our blanket if we have one, or even a pillow if you have one. I'm going to just demo with a blanket, and I'm going to actually sit on my blanket to allow for a little bit of height. As you notice, if you sit on a blanket or a pillow, it allows the legs to fall down, the knees to come down, gives us a little bit better posture, puts us in a relaxation mode. We're going to begin to center and connect our breath. So you can close your eyes here, maybe just take your gaze to the floor right in front of you. Let's go ahead and take our shoulders, reach them up towards our ears, roll them back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, place your hands just on your knees, maybe even squeeze the belly button in. And let's focus on our breath, our Ujjayi yoga breath. So we're going to begin to breathe in from the belly, up through the collarbone and through the back of the throat, and then exhale through our nose. Lovely. And you're going to begin to hear in the back of your throat your breath, which sounds a little bit like the ocean. Let's do that again. Breathing in deeply from the belly, up through the collarbone, in through the back of the throat, and then exhale all that air out through your nose. Lovely. If you're not hearing it in the back of your throat, there is a little trick. Breathe in as though you're surprised to see somebody. Exhale as though you're fogging up a little hand mirror that you're holding right under your nostrils. Let's give that another try. Deep breath and fill the lungs. Breathing in. Exhale out, empty the lungs. Very nice. As you continue your breath, let's go ahead and set an intention for tonight's practice. An intention is always good in any yoga practice, but it's so important in our yin practice because we're holding a pose for a long period of time. 3 minutes is a long time. It's easy during that time for our mind to start to wander. We don't want to think about what happened in the past, yesterday or last week. We don't want to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or what we have to do after this class. We want to keep our mind right here in the present. And a great way to do that is with our breath. So you can always go back if your mind does start to wander to inhale, exhale, or perhaps an intention. Maybe it's just a simple word like gratitude, joy, peace, love. Maybe you devote your practice to a person and you can just gravitate your mind to that person. Maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's a goal, just something to pull your mind back if it wanders, and it probably will because that's normal. We all do it. So let's take one more deep breath in and then we can get started. Deep breath in from the belly, up through the collarbone and through the back of your throat. And then let all that air out through your nose, possibly pursed lips. Very nice. Now let's go ahead and warm up the body before we begin to hold our poses. Let's once again take our shoulders, reach them up towards our ears, roll them back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, really opening up through the chest. And let's sweep our arms up towards the ceiling, reach our arms up, squeeze the ears with our arms, squeeze the belly in. And then just gentle motion side to side, moving to the right, exhaling, hearing that breath in the back of your throat. And then bringing your arms back straight. Squeeze the arms into the ears. And then bring the hands down to our knees. Let's roll out the shoulders. Inhale. Exhale. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. And then let's reverse those rolls. Very nice. Let's go ahead and just put our hands on our waist and round the back. Just gaze at the floor. round the back, round the spine, and then exhale, draw the elbows towards the back wall, opening up the chest. And then inhale, gaze to the floor. Exhale, elbows to the back wall. Let's do one more. Inhale, round the spine. And then exhale, shoulders to the back wall. Very nice. We're going to go ahead and come into our first pose, which is a butterfly pose. So we're almost there. We're just going to stay on our blanket, and we're going to take our feet and bring them just about, 1.5 feet in front of us. Grab our ankles, sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to just slide our feet in front of us. And we're going to just bring our elbows down. Now, if this is uncomfortable, you can take a block and place the block right at your ankles. And maybe just clasp your hands together and just lean. You want to be comfortable in these poses. You might even want to take a blanket and put it under this knee, a blanket, put it under that knee. You can also take a block and put it under each knee. So lots of options here. And if you don't have all this equipment and you have just 2 blocks, just maybe come up onto just place your elbows into your ankles and just relax like this. Let's try to drop our neck down, and we're going to hold this pose for 3 minutes. Just a really quick thing, if you don't have music playing, and I should have said this in the beginning, if you don't have relaxing music, just something to remember in the future, there is a station on Spotify, Carolyn's Virtual Yoga, which is a nice thing to listen to. Any music will do, or you don't need music at all. Just hear your breath. Just relax with your breath. And the timer has started. So hear your breath, breathing in, exhaling out. And I will tell you while we're in these poses some of the benefits which will help pass the time. This particular pose that we're working on right now is called butterfly. It really does increase your flexibility. It helps with digestion. It helps with regularity. It helps the prostate. And it also helps with the uterus. So lots of benefits. And that's just a few. So continuing to hold this pose, we're almost halfway there. And as we're holding this pose together, I will also tell you that as we're doing our yoga poses for our yin class, if at any time you feel any strain, any sharp pains, any tension, come out of the pose. Take a break and then try to go back into the pose. 3 minutes is a long time to hold a pose. You're doing great. If you need to readjust, then just try to come back into the pose and forgive yourself. It's okay. A little more than halfway there. Hearing your breath. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. Breathing in, filling up the lungs with fresh, wonderful air. Exhaling, emptying the lungs, getting rid of all the stale air. Almost there. Fabulous work. And release. Great work. If you have blocks, just go ahead and move them over to the side. And we're going to go ahead and just do a little counter pose. Sometimes this really helps in between a pose to do another, what I call a counter pose. We're just gonna sit up nice and tall, bring the feet in front of us, maybe pull the toes towards us. Take it a little further. You can take the hands and place them behind you, fingertips facing the back wall, and then just press up into a little reverse plank. Takes a little bit of the pressure off of that low back region that we just worked. And then come on down. And then our next pose is going to be a saddle pose. It's really nice to use a blanket, but I really like to use a pillow or a bolster for this. So let's find our pillow or our bolster. If you don't have that and you have a blanket, just use that in its place and just place that right behind you. So I'm going to turn this way so you can see. It's going to be right behind you. It's just going to butt up right up against your low back. So we're going to place that behind us. And then we're going to come to a seated position where we're sitting on our shins. Now, I will tell you, this is not for everybody. If you have knee problems, you might want to extend a leg. If one knee if you favor one knee over the other. So you might want to experiment with it. So we're just going to set this up. I'm going to demo it first as sitting on the shins, and then we're going to start to make our way back onto our pillow or our blanket. See how this feels. The hands can just rest by your side, or perhaps they're on your tummy. You want to be comfortable for 3 minutes. As I said earlier, if this is not comfortable for you, find which knee it bothers, if it does, and maybe just bend that leg and make it a half saddle, or maybe even extend that leg. Try it on either side, play around with it, make sure that you're in a comfortable position, and then we'll go ahead and start our little timer for 3 minutes. And once again, you don't want to have any sharp pain. It might be a little uncomfortable. It usually for yin is a little uncomfortable, but just know that you can always come out of it. You don't have to stay the whole time. And the timer is going. And so just relax. Maybe even bring your hands so that your palms are facing the ceiling. Maybe even close your eyes and just hear your breath. Feel your chest rising and falling. And just know that right now you're soothing your mind. Another benefit is your posture. This is a wonderful pose for your spine and your posture. Trying to stay still. Trying to remain for 3 minutes. If your mind starts to wander, think of your breath. Inhale, exhale. If your mind still starts to wander or continues to wander, think of your intention. Hear your breath. We're a little more than halfway there. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. Almost there. Keep breathing. And we're ready to come out of this pose. So think about where your elbows are right now and just place your hands right where your elbows are. And we're just going to lift ourselves up off of our blanket or our pillow, if that's what we were using. And then we're just going to come into our next pose. But before we do that, let's go ahead and make our way very gracefully, because part of yin is to come into a pose in a respectful way, onto our knees and take a cat-cow, our little counter pose. So let's breathe in for cow and exhale for cat, drawing our chin to our chest. And if you want to even make a hip circle or two, reaching your hips back towards your heels, just to take off some of that pressure, you can go ahead and do that. And then we'll get ready for our next pose. So coming in from our tabletop, our next pose is going to be our Sphinx pose. So to get into the Sphinx pose, we're just going to bring our shoulders over our wrists and then bend the elbows coming down onto our bellies. I'm going to move these blocks just so you can see. And then we're going to have our hands right underneath our shoulders. And with your next breath, we're going to just slide the hands in front of us and replace our hands with our elbows. So where your elbows will be. And this is a Sphinx pose. The hardest thing about this pose is if you don't do it often, it's hard to stay in it. It just is, it's a little awkward. There's a little trick. So while we hold it for 3 minutes, if you start to feel a little fidgety, a little wiggly, squeeze the buttocks, lift the kneecap, squeeze the thighs, and then slowly release that, and it will help you to stay a little longer. And then, of course, go back to your breath. So we're going to begin. I've already started the timer, even though it's back here. I've already started the timer. So let's just go ahead and begin that. And take your gaze right in between your arms so you're not straining your neck. Try to stay nice and still here. Maybe you spread the fingers wide. Hear your breath in the back of your throat, breathing in. Exhaling out. And remember, if you start to feel fidgety, maybe all you need to do is think of your breath. Maybe your intention, or in this particular pose, maybe you need to squeeze the buttocks, lift the kneecaps, turn on those muscles, point the toes even, feel it in the calf muscles, and then slowly release that. Good work. As you're holding this pose, you're stimulating your abdominal organs. You're improving your blood circulation. So many good things that you're doing for your body. Halfway there, doing fabulous. Hearing your breath in the back of your throat. If you're starting to feel fidgety, try lifting your fingers off the mat and then lowering the fingers back down. Keep breathing. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. We're almost there. And fantastic. Let's slide the hands in towards our body, pressing everything down to the mat. And just gonna bend the knees and rotate them side to side, little counter pose here. Maybe you're pressing your right ear into the mat. Maybe it's your left ear. And then let's lower the legs. Let's go ahead and reach out our right arm, and maybe your hand is right above your right shoulder. Let's press into our right hand and just roll to our side. See that back wall? Get a little stretch in the shoulder. And then roll back to your belly and slide that left hand in, and let's slide the right hand out to the wall behind you. Press in with the left hand, roll to your side, get a little shoulder stretch there. Should feel really nice. And then come back to your belly and we'll get ready for our next pose. Our next pose, it's kind of nice to have a blanket underneath you. So I'm gonna just put a blanket right underneath my chest area. And then we're actually gonna come back to that Sphinx pose where we were before. So our elbows are right in front of us, but we're not gonna stay here. We're gonna think about where our elbows are, and we're gonna slide our right hand to where our right elbow was. And then we're gonna slide the left hand to where the left elbow was. And then we're gonna come up. Hands are about 4 inches away from us, and we're gonna bring each hand out to the side. So they almost look like little flippers, and straighten the arms. And this is actually called seal pose. And this is similar to the pose that we just did, Sphinx pose, because we're up high, we're holding that up high. We're getting those same benefits, only a few more that I'll tell you about. But it's also hard to hold this pose and stay still. So if you squeeze the buttocks once again and lift the kneecaps in this pose, it will really help you to stay. This is a difficult one. If this is hard on your low back, you can always come back down to a Sphinx pose, stay here for a while, and then try to come back into the seal pose. And we are holding it. I've already been timing us, so no worries. I just distracted you, hopefully, for some of that time. So as you're holding your seal pose, I'll just remind you that you are stimulating your abdominal organs, you're improving your blood circulation. You're also doing some extra things. You're working on the urinary and bladder health, the urinary and kidney meridian in Chinese medicine. So this is very good for your bladder control and all of those functions on top of the blood circulation, your low back. So try to breathe, try to relax your neck, maybe look between your hands. Squeeze your buttocks if you need to. Hold that, make sure you're breathing, and then slowly let that go. And notice if it's a little easier to stay. And remember that you can come down, give yourself permission to come back down into a Sphinx pose if you need to. If you need to come all the way out of the pose, come on down to your belly. Windshield wipe your knees side to side. That's okay. And if your mind starts to wander, go back to your breath, breathing in, exhaling out, hearing that ocean in the back of your throat. You're a little more than halfway there. You're doing fantastic. Keep breathing. Go back to your intention if you need to, if your mind is wandering. If you're feeling fidgety, squeeze the buttocks, squeeze the thighs. And then slowly let it go. Slowly release that. You're almost there. And you're there. Release. Let's go ahead and come down. Think about where your hands are. We're going to just slide them about to where the elbows were and press up into a table. And you can just move your blanket for now to the side. And let's take a cat-cow because that was quite a bit on our low back. So we'll breathe in for cow. Exhale for cat. Draw your chin into your chest. Let's do another one for good measure. Breathe in for cow. Exhale for cat. Lovely. And if you want to make any kind of little movements into the spine, maybe stir the pot, wiggle, bring that left hip to the left wall, the right hip to the right wall. Just moving that out. And then we'll prepare for our next pose. This is going to be a very familiar one. We're just going to sink the hips back into the heels for a child's pose. Now, there are lots of different varieties of child's poses. You can just reach your hands forward, press your forehead into the mat, hold it just like this. If you have any kind of a shoulder injury or your shoulders are a little stiff, you can just slide those around and let them just rest. Maybe you press an ear into the mat. Some people like to actually bring their knees a little bit wider to the outside edges of the mat and sink their hips back, big toes touch, and then they get a little more benefit in the hips. So it's really a personal preference. Select the child's pose that's right for you. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes. And as we're holding this, I will be telling you some of the benefits for this pose. The good news is this is a pretty easy pose to hold. The mind still might try to wander. That just happens, but I'll try to keep you distracted from that happening. So while you're enjoying your child's pose, hearing your breath, pressing your forehead into your mat, just think about the things you're doing for your body here. The child's pose does so much for you. It's another pose that supports the kidney meridian in Chinese medicine. It helps the urinary tract. It is wonderful for bladder health. It supports the low back. It supports the hips. It supports the spine. But I think my favorite thing about the child's pose is it truly does relieve any kind of stress, any kind of anxiety, any kind of fear. This is the pose to get into if you're ever feeling anything like that. And sometimes it can be just a physical. You might be feeling a little bit fatigue in a pose, and a child's pose is always a nice one to just drop into, come right down into. So holding this pose, we're already more than halfway there. Hearing that breath in the back of your throat, breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. Allowing yourself to let go. Allowing yourself to melt into your mat. Leaving behind any kind of frustrations. Giving yourself so much credit for showing up, for yin, for taking good care of your body. Almost there. Inhale. Exhale. And we're there. So to come out of this, we're just going to bring our hands flat to the mat, and we're going to press into our hands back into a table. If we had our knees wide, just bring them right back underneath the hips. And we're going to stir the pot here. We're just going to make circles with our body, bringing the hips to the outside walls, bringing the right hip to the left wall, circling around, then bringing it to the right wall, as though you have a little bowl underneath you and a wooden spoon around your waist, and you're just stirring that pot. Take a few moments just to take this little counter pose. Wonderful. And then on your next breath, let's go ahead and sit back on our heels. Just sit back on the heels, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Let's reach the hands out in front. Spread the fingers nice and wide. It's really nice to do this on a cold evening or a cold day. And then we're going to make a little ball with our hands. And then we're going to spread them out wide again. Reaching in front, spread the fingers as wide as you can, make a little ball. Inhale, spread the fingers wide. Exhale, make a little ball. And then we're going to rotate the wrists. Nice. And then we're going to grab our blankets and spread the blanket out, getting ready for our next pose. The blanket's really nice to sit on. We're going to do a little half dragon. And it's just nice to have that added cushion. So let me make sure I'm in the center of my mat here. And I like to start this particular one with a counter pose to begin with. So I like to just heel toe my feet out, form what looks like the letter M. And some of you that know me know I used to teach elementary school, so that comes out some of the time. And I apologize, that's just how I am. And then we're going to take our hands and just bring them back behind us, fingertips facing that back wall. And then we're just going to let the knees fall to the right. Inhale, let the knees fall to the left. Exhale, let them fall to the right. Inhale, let them fall to the left. Lovely. And then we're going to bring this right leg out. Just let it relax. We're going to come back to the left ankle, slide that over, press it in, look down, and it looks a little bit like a tree pose. Then we're going to take our waist and just rotate it to the right. Now, if you have a little bit of weakness in this knee, you can take a block. This is one of my favorite things to do in this pose, especially when you're holding it for 3 minutes. And just slide that block right underneath that knee. Gives a little added comfort. And then when you're ready, you're just going to sweep your arms up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale. Just fold on down. And if you feel like you need a little support underneath this knee, maybe you take a blanket and you just place it, roll it up, place it underneath that knee. If you don't have another blanket and you have another block, just take a block and put it under that knee, a little added support. Nice and comfy. And we're already being timed. So nice. And this is kind of a comfortable pose. Sometimes it's easy to hold this one, but sometimes if you feel a little tension in your knee, you might have to come out of it and then come back into it. And just a reminder, you don't want a pose to have any sharp pain or any strain that's unbearable. If that's the case, please back off from the pose. You want to be comfortable. But sometimes they are challenging. So just a reminder, if your mind starts to wander, come back to your breath, breathing in, exhaling out. Going back to your intention. And just to remind you about all the wonderful things you're doing for your body, this particular pose is a wonderful hip opener. It supports the liver. It supports the spleen. It's also great for digestive health. So many benefits. We're more than halfway there. Fantastic. Relaxing your neck. Maybe your eyes are closed. Maybe you're taking your gaze to your knee or the mat near your knee or your block. You might feel a little stretch on the left side of your back. If that's uncomfortable, try to gently come out of the pose without judgment, and then try to get right back into the pose. If at any time you need to adjust your blocks or your blankets, that's okay. Give yourself permission. It's perfectly fine. We're almost done. We're almost through half dragon on the right side. Nice work. And then slowly come up. Slowly walk your fingertips towards your body. Let's just temporarily put our blocks aside. We're still going to keep them handy. We're going to stay on our blanket. And let's come back to that letter M. Let's bend the left knee, bend the right knee a little bit, making that letter M, and then taking our hands, reaching them back behind us, fingertips towards that back wall. Lean back just a little bit. And then just let the knees fall. Inhale to the right. Exhale to the left. Inhale to the right. Exhale to the left. Nice work. Beautiful. One more inhale to the left. Exhale to the other side. And then we're ready to set it up on the left side. So sides are different. We know this in yoga. You might not need the blocks on both sides for left-sided dragon, but you might decide that you need to. I'm going to go ahead and demo it that way. So we're going to straighten this left leg. We're going to bring the right leg and just press that foot right into the left thigh. So if you look down, it looks like that tree pose again. And then once again, if you want a little added support, since we're holding it for 3 minutes, just place that block right underneath the knee. If you're okay without a block and you don't need one, that's great. But if you do, you can just place that block or that added extra blanket to support that leg. So it helps out a little bit. So I'm going to bring my little timer over here. And when you're ready, we're just going to twist gently at the waist towards the left. Inhale, sweep the arms up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, come on down. And I should mention, you don't need to touch your toes here. You're just fully relaxed. Just let your head relax. Bring your gaze to either your block or your knee. This time you're going to feel a stretch on the right side of your spine. And really, we're having the same benefit on this side as we had on the other side. Once again, it's a hip opener. We're supporting our liver and our spleen, doing so many wonderful things for our GI tract, our digestive system. Hearing that breath in the back of your throat. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. And we're already halfway there. Hear your breath. Fill the lungs as you breathe in. Empty the lungs completely as you breathe out. Keep breathing. And if your mind starts to wander, go back to your intention. Hear your breath. Visualize the organs that you're helping right now. We're almost there. And if you do feel a little sensation, maybe your foot starts to feel like it's going to sleep, you can wiggle your toes a little bit. And then just try to bring him to stillness. Nice work. We're going to come out of this pose. Lovely. Let's go ahead and keep the blocks nearby. We're going to come back to that little M position. Take our hands, bring them back behind us. And once again, with our breath, breathe in, knees go to the right. Exhale, knees come to the left. Inhale, knees go to the right. Exhale, knees come to the left. And then we're going to come back up onto our blanket and we're going to take a full dragon. So we're just going to bring both legs out straight. This is kind of hard for some people sometimes with the knees. If you have sensitive knees, once again, I'm going to recommend you just put a block under each knee. And then we're going to sweep our arms up and come down. This is where you might want your pillow. If you have a pillow, it's nice to put it right here in front of you. It makes a nice little, I call it my desk, a nice little desk where you can just rest your elbows, because it kind of hurts to have your elbows on the floor or on your mat. Or you can even just relax your hands in front of you. So set up in the way that's best for you. You can use a block instead of your pillow if you prefer. I just want to show you all the modifications that are out there. This is so many lovely things. And we've already started our timer, not to worry. So if you haven't already, come up and inhale and then exhale on down. We'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if you're in the position, just relax. Hear your breath in the back of your throat. And I think of this particular pose as the juicy pose. This pose has so many benefits. It stimulates the kidneys once again. It's really key in that Chinese medicine, that bladder meridian, the kidney meridian. It really does help in those areas. It really helps the urinary tract. It also helps with digestion. Something else that's a bit unique about this pose that I do want to tell you about is it can stir up emotions. Especially in women, we hold a lot of our emotions in our hips. And this is a hip opener. And that's perfectly normal to feel some emotions while you're in this pose. And just be kind to yourself and allow whatever happens to happen. Love yourself. Continue to breathe. And just let everything go. And think about all the wonderful things right now that you're doing for your body. Hear your breath as you inhale and exhale. And we're more than halfway there. Good job. This is a hard one. This is a tough one. Doing a great job. Doing so many wonderful things for yourself. Taking great care of your body. Working on flexibility and strength. Showing up on your mat tonight. That's one of the hardest things, is showing up. So good. Almost done with this one. Really nice. And we're done. So we're going to slowly come out of it. Let's take our pillow, keep it close by. Let's remove our blocks. Put them off to the side for now. And we're going to stay just like we are. But we're going to take our hands, bring them back behind us, fingertips towards the back. And instead of doing our letter M, we're going to heel toe our feet together so our knees knock together. So the knees are together. And then we're going to heel toe our feet out. Maybe they come to the outside edge of your mat. And we're just going to hold this. Maybe even lean our head back, look at the ceiling, take a deep breath in. Deep exhale out. Lovely. And then we're going to heel toe our feet right back in together. And we're going to send the right leg out in front of us and then send the left leg out in front of us. We're still sitting up on our blanket. Let's sit up nice and tall. Take our shoulders, reach them up towards our ears, roll them back, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And we're going to take a forward fold. That will be our final pose for this evening. We have a few other little things that we're going to do just to stretch the body before we take our meditative Shavasana. So let's go ahead and sweep the arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, take a fold. Once again, you don't have to touch your toes at all. Now, I will say, if you want to take that block, you can, or a block, you can slide it underneath. It might take a little pressure off. You don't have to. And we're just holding this. I've already started the timer. And the benefits that we're doing right now, we're stretching our back. You can probably feel it. So good. One of the best things you can do right now for your low back, your sacrum, is this particular pose. This pose also lifts the mood. So it's a really nice thing to do after that dragon pose that we just did that might have stirred up some emotions. This should start lifting your mood. Maybe your mood was already lifted from the dragon. I hope it was. Another nice thing about this pose is it relieves headaches. So just continue your breath, breathing in, exhaling out. Breath travels up the spine. Breath travels down the spine. We're halfway there. We're not going to hold this one for quite as long. About 3 more breaths here and we're done with this one. And we're slowly going to come out of it. Slowly, slowly. Take your time coming up, placing that block to the side. And then if you do have a pillow, I'd like you to take your pillow and just place it at the top of your mat. Almost as though you're in a bed. And this is your pillow in your bed. If you don't have a pillow, just use your blanket instead. If you have a pillow and a blanket, maybe you want to cover up with your blanket. And I'd like for you to just go ahead and come into a Shavasana pose. So just make your way. A nice way to come down onto your mat is just to come down onto one elbow and then maybe come down onto the other elbow and then just lie down and just press your low back into the mat. Maybe squeeze your shoulder blades a little tighter underneath you and just lay down, close your eyes, relax, hear your breath. And this is going to be a little bit different Shavasana than you're probably used to. I call this the bonus Shavasana because I'm going to read to you a meditative script that's going to help you relax a little bit deeper. So nice to do after a yin practice. So just become comfortable. Lie back onto your mat and take several slow, long, deep breaths. Breathing in fully. Exhaling slowly. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. If you want to breathe out through pursed lips, you can do that as well. Feel your stomach expand on an inhale and relax as you let go on your exhale. Begin to let go of all the noises around you. Begin to shift your attention from the outside to the inside of yourself. And if you are distracted by sounds in the room, simply notice this and bring yourself back into focus through your breathing. Inhale and exhale. Now slowly bring your attention down to your feet. Begin observing sensations in your feet. You might want to wiggle your toes just a little bit and notice how your toes feel. Just notice without judgment. You might imagine sending your breath down to your feet as if the breath is traveling through your nose to the lungs, through the abdomen, all the way down to your feet. And then back up again, out through your nose, through your lungs. Now, maybe you don't feel anything at all, and that's okay too. Just allow yourself to feel the sensation of not feeling anything. That's all right. And when you're ready, allow your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye and move your attention up to your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, and observe the sensations you're experiencing throughout your legs. Breathe into and breathe out of the legs. And if your mind begins to wander during this exercise, gently notice this without any judgment and just bring your mind back, noticing the sensations that you are feeling in your legs. Remember, it's normal for the mind to wander. That's okay. If you notice any discomfort, pain, or stiffness, don't judge this. Just simply notice it. Observe how all the sensations rise and fall, shift and change, moment to moment. Notice how no sensation is permanent. Just observe and allow the sensations to be in the moment, just as they are. Breathe into and out from the legs. And then on your next breath, allow the legs to dissolve into your mind and move to the sensations of your low back and pelvis, softening and releasing as you breathe in and breathe out. Slowly move your attention up to your mid-back and then to the upper back. And be a little curious about those sensations. You may become aware of sensations in the muscle, the temperature or the points of contact with your mat, with the feel of the skin on your back, the clothes on your back. With each out-breath, you may let go of tension you're carrying. I hope you do. And then very gently shift your focus to your stomach and all the internal organs here. Perhaps you notice the feeling, once again, of the clothing on this part of your body, the process of digestion, the belly rising and falling. Maybe your tummy is growling a little bit and you're noticing that. And if you notice any of these things, just let these areas go and just return to noticing the sensations. And as you continue to breathe, bring your awareness to your chest and the heart region. And just notice your heartbeat. Maybe you can hear it, maybe you can feel it. Maybe if you put your hand there, observe how the chest rises and falls as you inhale and exhale. Let go of any judgments that may arise. And on the next out breath, shift the focus to your hands, your fingertips. See if you can channel your breathing into and out of this area as if you're breathing into and out of your hands. And if your mind wanders, which is perfectly normal, just bring it back to the sensation of your hands. And then on the next breath, shift the focus and bring your awareness up into your arms. Observe the sensations, or maybe the lack of sensations that may be occurring here. You might notice some difference between the left arm and the right arm. There's no need to judge this. And as you exhale, you may experience the arms soften and release tension. Just continue to breathe and shift your focus. And then bring it to the neck, the shoulders, and the throat region. And this is the area where we hold our tension. This is where we hold our stress, all the noise. You might feel a little tightness or rigidity that you're holding on to. You might notice the shoulders moving along with the breath. Let go of any thoughts or stories that you're telling yourself about this area. And as you breathe, you might feel tension rolling off your shoulders. I really hope you do. And on the next out breath, shift your focus and direct it to your scalp, your head, your face, and just soften all the muscles in this area. Soften through your eyes. Gently move your jawbone side to side. Notice if your tongue is stuck to the roof of your mouth. And if it is, just let it drop right into the lower palate. Notice the movement of the air as you breathe in and out. And finally, just relax from the crown of your head all the way from to the tips of your toes. And then slowly open your eyes and roll to the right side. Draw your knees into your chest. You already have a little pillow for your head, I hope, with your blanket or your pillow. And then slowly, slowly make your way back up into a comfortable seated position, and we'll close. Let's go ahead and bring our fingertips just right outside our body. We're going to flip our fingertips so our palms are facing the ceiling. We're going to sweep our arms up towards the ceiling. Reach, 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 reach. Draw our hands down to heart center. Press our palms together. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you had a wonderful time with Yin. I hope you feel very relaxed.